Hey everyone, it's Colin Burns again, and I am joined, most miraculously, by my beautiful, talented artist, professional, illustrating, character design, animation queen, goddess,
Damn.
Sara Kipin.
Hi.
Now, Sarah, how does being introduced like that make you feel?
A little embarrassed, but in a good way.
Yeah, you didn't say that about yourself. Your husband said that about you.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you.
So we did a Bloodborne boss ranking video, and I think it was safe to say that we both enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you and just talking about our favorite video games together.
Yeah, these are games that we've played together. These are games that we've had a ton of conversations about just around the apartment, and I think we have points of view. I mean, you as an artist and a gamer, you have a lot of feelings about how things look, the way things are designed, how they play out. And then me as a lifelong dungeon master who comes up with like lore and tries to make interesting gameplay for my players and everything. Like I'm always interested in how From Software does things because they do tend to put a lot of story into their games, even if they're kind of story light, paradoxically.
Yeah.
All that to say, we may not be the most expert in something like game design, but I think we have a point of view. And we're going to bring that point of view to Elden Ring today. But not all of Elden Ring, because if we were to try and rank every boss, we'd probably just give up because it's just too many, and too many of them are just reskinned enemies. There's weird things in there like, hey, why are there two Astal? Why does Godric the Grafted have a twin? What does this mean? Why did you put it in the game? We're going to ignore all of that because, again, I think that would be too much. If there's like a huge groundswell, if this video gets 100 unique comments saying great, all the other bosses, we'll do it. But we're gonna stick to just the bosses that drop remembrances. These are the bosses that the game deems most important.
Yes.
Now, not included on this list is someone I want to give an honorary A rating to. My man, Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing, who is my Mikolash of this game. He's a real stinker. I do not condone his behavior. I don't think it's right to adopt children and raise them to be agents of war and deception and spies and then cut them loose the second they stop being useful to you. I think that's bad.
That's bad.
But man's got some cool spells.
And ears on his armor, which is pretty cool.
And when you roll up, as a boss, he's just only there to stop you as a hater.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even want to do it himself. He's just like, you can't do it, so I'm going to kill you. And the way he's standing is really cool.
Yeah,
He's all stanced up.
Yeah.
So, Gideon, you're not on this list because the game didn't give you a remembrance, but to me, you're an A tier boss. Not an S tier, but an A tier. So, Gideon, honorable mention to you.
That's very sweet.
Thank you. As much as I love you,
Yeah.
I also love weird men.
Yeah, no, that's valid. I support you.
I guess it's not like it's not a limited resource. I'm an endless font of love.
Yeah.
So I can love you and Gideon Ofnir and Mikolash and other weird men I'm sure we'll discover as we rank bosses in other video games.
No, I get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
God, I am so blessed to be with such an understanding partner who's willing to share heart space
with Gideon
with Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
And Mikolash.
And Mikolash. But he's not here.
No.
And neither is Gideon. Enough is enough. We're getting into this list.
Okay.
Starting with our rankings. Let's just define the ranks.
Okay.
We have our S tier. These are our favorites. Could replay those boss fights forever. Oops, I spelled fights wrong. A tier, these are going to be iconic,
Yes.
memorable. What you think of when you think of Elden Ring. That's fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
B is our rock solid fights. Fun, but not necessarily like the top tier.
Right.
C is glad it's over.
Mm-hmm.
A fight that was tough or a little lackluster that you just are glad to be on the other side of.
Right.
And then D is forgettable or I guess boring.
Underwhelming, yeah.
Underwhelming. I don't imagine there's going to be a lot of whatever. I don't imagine there's going to be a lot of D's in this grouping.
No.
If we were to expand it out to be all Elden Ring bosses, we would be drowning in D.
Yeah.
But
Ooh.
you liked how that sounded?
Yeah, that was funny.
Okay. Well, there's nothing funny about this first boss that we're going to be looking at, which is the Divine Beast Dancing Lion.
I loved this fight. I was so excited for it as soon as they put it in the first trailer for the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredibly creative design. I love that there's like 3 guys inside puppeting this massive lion. I think it's cool that it cycles like elemental types. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I loved its arena and everything about it. I thought it was a really iconic original idea. I'd put that thing in A. You know, it kicked my ass enough times that I say I wouldn't want to fight it forever, but I really liked it. So A for me.
Yeah, I was like you, very excited to fight this thing. I definitely got stonewalled by it. Mm-hmm. Like it just kind of stopped me from progressing.
Yeah.
There was, the idea of an Elden Ring boss or a Dark Souls boss where it's like, okay, I can see its health bar going down, so I'm just going to have to keep throwing myself at it until I beat it. But when you first get into the DLC, I think it's a little tough.
Yeah.
So this was one that I got my ass kicked and then went and did other things and came back to. But really good fight, and I really don't have any notes on how I could improve it. So I think A is right. It is missing some kind of special sauce. Mm-hmm. Our S tier tends to be characters we either would want to be or be in a relationship with or give us some kind of profound experience.
Yeah, guilty.
So I think A is a perfect spot for this guy. Now, our next fight, one of my favorite fights in the game is R'Lana, the Twin Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Another DLC boss. Mm-hmm. I love a fight where you are just up against someone who's relatively the same size as you, who in theory has access. It's a person in armor with 2 swords and magic. And there's that applies to plenty of player characters in Elden Ring.
Right.
The fight is very much about learning attack patterns. The visual spectacle is really cool. The way she enchants her swords.
Yeah.
The way that there's like a romance implied in the character, that she has the mesmer sword,
right? Yeah,
as well as her Carrion sword. Like I really like all the lore of the Carrion royal family, and I really, I didn't know when I started talking about her because I was like, oh, hey, I actually think R'Lana might be an S for me.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, she would have been a high A for me, but now that you say it, I think.
Now I'm torn. Like, is it?
No, I think it's totally fine. I think the fight is really incredible. I loved the experience of fighting her. I think my favorite part, weirdly enough, is when she uses that twin moon spell, and you have to hop over the little shockwaves.
One jump this time. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I'm sure you can dodge roll through it. But I liked discovering that I could time it correctly and just hop over them. And that was really fun.
Yeah.
So,
2 jumps.
Yeah. 2 jumps.
Bam. Like that song?
Like that song.
From like middle school
Yeah,
dances.
yeah. So put her in S. Why not? She was fun.
Am I allowed?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I can do it?
Yeah, I support you, man.
You support me?
Yeah, man.
All right.
I made it for you.
Shit. S.
S.
Wow. All right, next. I don't think this guy's going to hit S tier.
No.
It's the putrescent knight. Down you go into the deepest chasm of the earth. You fall all the way down, down, down. And what greets you is a gooey guy on a gooey horse.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I think the way that he is made it really hard to predict what he was going to do with his body. I can't describe it any other way, but like I didn't know when to dodge his hits because his arm is on the top of his head. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, it's a weird weapon.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. I liked that he's riding a Kelpie. I liked that the kind of precipice before you jump off into the abyss was surrounded by dead animals or like sleeping animals, kind of, signifying that, St. Trina's down there. That was really cool. But I think I kind of walked away from it being like, I wish this was a St. Trina boss fight. And I mean, like, I think that's just kind of like
there is a weird discordance between this is where St. Trina is, and
I thought she was gonna be a big scary boss, and then it was just a guy on a horse.
And then there's a guy on a horse
he's cool,
like the goo that comes out of a corpse themed, and not sleepy time themed.
Yeah,
should have been the celestial tea bear.
Yeah.
Or something.
It was a sleepy time bear. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool fight. I think the design was really interesting. I liked his weird silhouette, even if it was hard for me to predict. I thought him sending the Kelpie at you like a missile was kind of funny. But I think ultimately it was just a little too difficult, but not spicy or fun enough for me to put it above a C.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, was that too?
No, I was so prepped for you to say B because that's in my head where I was going to put it.
Oh, I don't think it was fun.
I think it's kind of charming.
Yeah, it's charming.
But yeah, I guess C. I really.
If you want to put it in B, I totally understand.
I feel like
I know that I'm alone in this.
I just got away with murder putting Rolana up. That
was not murder.
Actually, probably other people will agree with me.
Yeah, they'd probably be more offended if we didn't put her in S.
Okay, fair enough. My heart says B minus.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, put him in B.
All right, we're listening to my heart here.
I love your heart.
What the, dude?
Your turn.
Yeah, wow. All right. Our next guy is Commander Gaius.
Ah, the man on the boar.
The wild boar rider.
The
only male albinoric that isn't an old man
or a frog. Yeah.
Isn't it weird how the albinorics, the men are all old men or frogs, and the women are all like
hot waifs,
snatched beauties?
I think that's kind of just like Elden Ring in a nutshell.
It's just something for the guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Miyazaki gave something for the guys.
All women are like sexy things and men are grandpas, and
it's a point of view.
It's a point of view.
But Commander Gaius is he's a bro. He's on a horse.
Yeah.
Boar. Like famously on a boar.
And he hits like a truck.
Hits like a truck. He hits like two trucks.
He hits like two trucks.
Two trucks. He's a truck. The boar's a truck. The gravity magic's a truck. I remember trying to fight this thing on torrent by myself.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I beat him.
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
You remember that at least.
Oh, yeah. I just don't know if I was using torrent or not.
I think we summoned each other.
Oh, because we were just like, we can't do this anymore.
I think it was just one of those things where it was like, I'm going to hit him. He'll attack me. While he's attacking me, you hit him.
Oh, right. I think I used some holy magic, my slash, like laser beam, and it just kind of whittled him down.
Well, I also the save file that we played through the DLC together, I was not my wizard self from my first playthrough of the game.
No.
So I didn't have access to my fuck you laser that I used to beat every single boss my first playthrough. Really tough boss. I think I like that about him. It is fair. Eventually, I got to the point where I could beat him by myself.
Right.
Learning the patterns, avoiding getting hit, or, being able to survive getting hit enough to
Right.
heal and keep going. To me, that makes it like, okay, I was very glad it was over because it
Yeah.
was very hard. But I think because it is so hard but achievable, I think that makes it a B.
Okay.
How do you feel?
I feel like he's just kind of like another like jock knight on horse / boarback. And I'm never a huge fan of fighting something on a horse. So I feel like he didn't really do anything for me personally, and I didn't really have fun learning the moves. So I think, I feel like I understand why some people might like him. So B-, I think, for me.
Well, I don't want you to just
No, but
lay down.
I know,
and...
but like the Peach Reson's name would have been a C, but I just don't trust myself because I feel like
Trust yourself. You're Sara
I think
Kipin.
he's a C.
Okay.
No, but we'll split the difference. Put him B-.
I'm actually, I was so convinced that I don't know what I'm convinced by.
We can
I'm not
move
convinced
him.
by anything.
We
hey,
can move
hey,
him.
I think it's important to remember none of this matters.
You're right.
So I'm gonna say C.
Okay.
Because it's a fight where you're glad it's over.
Yeah, I'm
and
glad it's
ultimately
over. Yeah.
that's what makes a C.
Okay, cool.
God, I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
C. Thank you.
The
Okay.
sunflower.
I love this thing.
The Shadow Tree Avatar.
Skidoo tree avatar.
Skip-a-dap-a-doodly boop.
the skidoo.
The scat dude.
The skadoo tree
God.
flower.
God. Kill me.
I think it might have been an S for me.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked fighting this thing. I loved that it had like 2.5 phases.
Oh, the fake outs.
The fake outs were really fun. I loved that it was like wilting and dying as you were fighting it.
The last phase.
I loved that it like had a turbo mode where it would like zip around the ring like a car. I thought that was really funny. And I liked that it was just kind of like a somber, sad fight. Like you felt bad killing it almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was really cool. It was based on vibes alone. I think it was an S tier for me, at least a part of the DLC bosses. But I could be negotiated down to a high A.
Yeah. So that's a tough one because everything you said I totally agree with. My favorite thing it does is the hug itself and explode with light and shadow. Like,
and it rotates to look like the shadow tree.
The shadow tree itself. Yeah, there's so much love that went into that boss. You can really feel it.
Yeah, the arena was fun.
And if that's how you drive a car, remind me never to be a passenger. I did like the fight. I thought it was. I love a fake out. Very Guardian Ape.
Ooh, we should do Sekiro next.
We should do Sekiro.
I love Sekiro.
Sekiro's such a good game. I would say A+.
Okay.
You would say, all right, the real question of S, did it change your life? Do you want to be it or do you want to kiss it?
Oh, is that okay? I don't know if I want to do those things to it, but I think I don't know.
Did you have an experience? Did the experience of fighting it change your brain chemistry forever?
Maybe not. I don't feel changed by the Shadow Tree Avatar.
Really, really appreciate it. You think it's iconic. You think it's memorable, and when you think of Elden Ring, you think of
yeah.
Then
okay, that's an A.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Now, talk about
Speaking in S tier.
Characters we want to kiss.
Who is
We've
it, Colin?
Got Romina, Saint of the Bud.
I'll let you.
Do I even really want to like show my whole ass like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did with Mikolash and with Gideon. Just go for another.
Okay. Well, Mikolash and Gideon are guys who are like, again, I don't agree with war. I'm not gonna do crimes. I don't have that in me. I'm not a hurtful person. But I do. There is part of me that's like, what? There's like they're the boy version of a girl boss. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Romina is sort of on another end of the S tier where I'm like, boy, I sure think she's neat.
You love a bug woman.
I didn't used to know that about myself. The past few years of my life has been a real journey of discovery and realizing that I like anthropomorphic bug women. Saying that out loud almost sounds a little strange. I don't like bugs as like a extant form of animal life on Earth. Like they're fine.
Yeah.
I don't want them in me or on me ever. But when a character has like an exoskeleton and a humanoid shape, I'm just like, I'm into it. I really like the hot pink color that she has. And I like the butterfly.
She's
I like her.
She's a pretty rock girl.
I like her.
Yeah, no, and it's cool.
And the fight's pretty cool.
Yeah, so to talk about the mechanics, I thought mechanically it was a really fun fight.
Yeah.
I honestly wish there was more to it though. Like she kind of felt like she deserved an introduction cutscene and like an outro cutscene about her. It just she almost felt neglected in a weird way, and I think she deserved more.
Yeah, I mean,
because wasn't she like lore-wise the original avatar for the Rot?
Yeah, I think it's like implied or stated that her hatred of Mesmer and the Crusade gave birth to the Scarlet Rot, the same strain that ended up infecting millennia down the line. And yeah, she doesn't even have an intro cutscene. You just walk into this crumbled old church,
and then there's like a hot pink bug woman in there, and you're like, oh,
so hot. And then you beat her, and then that's it.
Gonna need more hands.
Me?
Yeah, because the like, I have two hands. Like it's like you're holding my hand, but then you're also holding Gideon and Mikolash.
We need to stop name dropping Mikolash. He's not part of this.
Oh, okay.
And Gideon's not even on this list. I'm just talking about my boys. It's just me and my boys.
I love you.
Romina S tier.
Okay.
And no one could convince me otherwise.
I'm not even gonna.
You could tell me, husband of mine, she's not allowed an S tier, and
I would never say that.
I know, but like
hypothetically,
you could do that, and I would say
if I were a less supportive person.
Yeah, I would say I disagree with you. I think she's an S tier.
But you're lucky because she's a cool fight, so I'm not gonna.
And she's cooler than Milana because she's a bug woman.
Yeah.
All right. All that said, let's move on to Metyr, the mother of Fingies.
I liked this fight. I thought it was fun. I think there were some parts of the DLC that kind of, in the end, felt a little empty, shall I say?
Oh, like the completely featureless finger ruins?
Where like the whole time you're going down, you're like, oh, I wonder what's down here. And then there's like not even an item to pick up. And you just kind of like, you're like, oh, okay. It's just a big finger horn to blow in.
Yeah.
And you blow like 3 of those things.
A lot of big empty environments in the DLC.
So it felt like this boss was kind of the culmination of like 3 lukewarm experiences. But it was cool. I liked her design. I liked the lore implications. But it wasn't anything that changed my brain chemistry. So I'd put it in B.
B?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't glad it was over. I thought it was fun. Ymir's whole thing was really fun and spicy.
Yeah.
I liked that he wanted to be mommy too.
That's true.
So I think the stuff around Ymir was cool. So by proxy, I'll put the Mother of Fingers in B.
As a rock solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it was fun.
I hate to disagree with you on this, but I think I'll explain where I'm coming from and then maybe say what I'm going to say afterwards. she reminds me a lot of Ebrietas
Oh,
as
yeah,
this
okay.
like fallen alien creature that is just kind of like broken now.
Abandoned.
I really like what it means for the lore. I thought seeing her for the first time was really mind blowing
Yeah.
and was a moment of the DLC touching on something where I felt satisfied by it touching it and not just like, oh, there's more Godwin faces here and we're getting no Godwin lore in the DLC really.
Womp womp.
That was a little disappointing. But Madeira she was so cool. I love a quest line. These games, I always want them to have more quests and more things to do like that. And the Ymir stuff was right up my alley. And I think just because of how alien and strange and cool the fight is, I think of it as iconic
Oh, okay.
in the sense that it's, what I would qualify as an A.
Okay. Yeah, I can be talked up. Put her in A.
Yeah. I'm not twisting your arm.
Yeah, no.
Like you
No.
get why
Yeah.
she's an
No,
A.
for sure. I think that's a solid argument, and I have no reason to fight for her to only be a B. You know?
It's funny. The DLC itself, from like a story perspective and like a map perspective, like we just mentioned, there's just huge areas that just don't have stuff in them.
Yeah, it was surprising.
And there's plot threads that just don't really go anywhere. And ultimately, I walked away from the DLC being less positive about it than I was about the base game.
Yeah.
Not
I'd
to
agree.
say that I didn't enjoy it, because I did enjoy it and I went through it and I liked it a lot. I really wish the final thing we get from the DLC isn't just a cutscene that explains something that we've already been told 3 times
Yeah,
in the DLC.
I loved the game up until like the last 5 minutes, essentially.
It really lets your imagination do a lot of work,
Well,
and then it shows you.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it once we get to that remembrance.
But my point, after slagging the DLC on maybe a experiential basis, is all these boss fights really solid.
Yeah, the boss fights themselves were really, really satisfying.
And that's just gonna continue right along with our next guy, Midra, Lord of the Frenzied Flame.
Yes.
Like, so cool.
Yeah, this fight rocked.
I loved this dude's implementation. I loved right before you get into his boss room, you get the item description from his maiden.
Right.
That's like, endure. The words were cursed.
Yeah.
Like this guy is cursed. He's been putting up with a literal impalement torture device in his spine for Lord only knows how long. He crawls around. It's like a pathetic little phase 1 that's almost like a fake out.
Yeah.
And then becomes, and if you've played the base game, which we all had, I'm assuming, and beaten it and done the Frenzied Flame ending, which is the most involved and probably the most fun ending to get.
Yeah, super cool.
He becomes that thing that you become in that ending.
Uh-huh.
And that is like the most evil ending of the base game. So it carries so much weight seeing Midra stand up and he's got the Sunny D butthole head.
Yeah, it was really iconic. I really liked this fight. I thought his character animation was really floaty and like ethereal and fun. The boss arena was also very moody. I loved like the broken floorboards and the fact that you're in the rafters of this once majestic manor in the middle of a spooky wood. So yeah, I'd put him in A, but I could easily be talked up into an S.
I think S.
Yeah.
I love the weightlessness that he kind of like spins and floats around with. I love that the room is on fire.
Yeah.
Everything about the fight is so cool.
He has the fun cutscene introduction where he like rips the thing out of his head. Yeah, just super, super cool fight all around.
It's a fight I'd do over and over
Yeah,
again.
it was really fun. I liked exploring the manor as well, so it was kind of just like, fun instance after fun instance. I will say the woods themselves, super, super pretty. I felt chills the first time you see that message where it was like, don't let them see you, and Torrent like leaves and you're like, what the fuck? And then it's just like 4 winter lanterns and there's like nothing else. There's some Inquisitors, but there's like nothing really to explore.
No, it's a real bummer because you're just running around on foot, like picking up like kind of low tier items.
Yeah, it's like
there's one invader at the start. Like the sense of dread you get immediately
I was
is so cool,
scared and excited.
And then it's just like, hey, do you want to walk through like a liminal space where
it was a huge area, and you would like run up a hill expecting to see an item to reward you for walking up that hill, and then there was nothing. And that happened so many times.
Even games like Genshin Impact have more rewarding exploration structures than that.
Like I remember like you and I playing it simultaneously, and it got to the point where we would be like, okay, I'm going to go left, you go right, and we're going to tell each other if we find something to just like save ourselves time. But yeah. I loved finding that haunted house in the back corner of the woods. Yeah. That was super rewarding. I liked seeing the line of corpses like facing the manor, like they were executed by the Inquisitors. Super fun. I loved the manor. I think it was a lovely treat, one of my favorite areas in the game, and then having Midra as the area boss was very satisfying. So a little let down from the woods themselves, but ultimately had a lot of fun. S.
All right, and now we have all 11 inches of Mesmer the Impaler. Because when you pre-ordered the DLC, you got an 11-inch Mesmer the Impaler statue. What's so funny about that?
You know what you did. You know.
I'm looking at him right now. That's 11 inches of Mesmer.
Am I the filthy one then?
Phil? Oh, you thought I... Oh, Sarah. So Mesmer... S.
Yeah.
Make your case.
Okay, so whatever Romina did to you, Mesmer did to me. I love that he's covered in snakes. I love that he's a beautiful man. I love that he has a big spear. I think it's fun that he was kind of sent out into this like spooky castle to hold down the fort for mommy and then was abandoned. You know, he's really cool. I love his design. Honestly, I think he's probably got my favorite boss fight design in like the whole game, DLC included, obviously. So, I loved the snakes. Phase 2, where he ripped out his eyeball, completely blinding himself but becoming harder, was really fun. I just really liked. I loved his boss fight. Is that enough?
Yeah. S. I already did my 11 inches joke. I got nothing else to add.
Yeah, he's covered in snakes and wings, and he's got a little... he's got panties on, and is...
Yeah, I like that he's cursed.
Yeah.
I think a character that has a curse that makes them stronger is fun.
And like the lore implication that he's like, you know, Radigan's son instead of Godfrey's child. Like,
Oh, that he's one of the weird incest babies of Radigan and Marika.
Or self-cessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. But that's like really cool.
And so he's born with a curse the way that all of them are.
Yeah.
I love the effect on his flame. I like that it has like darkness because fire is almost a light source and darkness is sort of the opposite of light. So to combine those is quite interesting.
Yeah. I also love how retro his
I'm putting
helmet
it behind
is.
Midra,
No.
No? You think better than Midra?
Above. He's holding hands with Romina. I'm so sorry. It might look that he's in second place, but they're actually stacked on top
They're
of
on
each
top
other.
of each other. I wonder. I can't do that.
It's fine. I also love how his helmet has wings on it in a very like hard to describe like retro 80s like action figure kind of way. Like I don't know, there's something about him that's like so old Rankin Boss, like 1970s cartoon.
Well, we're ranking bosses right now.
That was really funny.
Thank you. I'm pretty funny. All right.
Okay, here we go.
I mean,
I saw that silhouette right
I
away.
don't want to. There's so much tied up in this boss, both gameplay wise and plot wise.
Okay,
and
think.
can I?
Oh yes, go right ahead.
I just don't want to get too bogged down in what could have been, because so many things could have been.
Right.
My one what could have been is Godwin.
It should have been Godwin. It should have been Godwin.
But what we got for Radon the Promised Consort was Radon.
2.
Yes, Radon again. And then phase 2, sort of a Lothric Lorien situation. Now, I understand this fight has been patched to be a little less difficult. When we did it, it was so goddamn frustrating that I had to go get a shield and a Scarlet Rot Spear, completely reallocate my stats, and just poke it till he was sick and just survive, because the fight was so goddamn overtuned hard.
Yeah.
A million splash effects happening all the time, visually frustrating. And then your grand payoff, oh, I've been playing this whole DLC. Miquella's been discarding his body parts. He's ascending to godhood. He even got rid of his own heart and broke his own spell. He's in a black room going, Radon, let's be married and become gods. That was it.
Yeah.
And we already knew that because we played the damn thing. That was it.
Go off.
We got to the gates of fucking godhood, and all we got was a Miquella in a black room going, I want to marry my brother. Like, I'm sorry, that didn't do it for me.
No, that was a really, okay, so yeah, okay, you had your,
I just,
okay, yeah, you did a good job at explaining.
Me saying, I don't want to get into this, and then
doing it anyway.
Yelling about how much
Okay, I think that was a little treat for us. We've been so well behaved in this video and in the Bloodborne one. We both love From Software games a whole bunch. Playing this DLC was some of the most fun I've ever had, like, you know, with you, speculating while playing it. You had such great ideas about like where the DLC was going. I loved the idea of Miquella starting off as like this supposedly healed figure that we saw like in the DLC, where he was like, you know, completely himself again and not the carcass that we saw in Mohg's chambers, and him then going through the shadow realm and discarding like his eyes and his arm, and you're like, oh, he's gonna look so like messed up by the time that we find him, and then he just like shows up and is already all healed, and we didn't get like a magical girl transformation from looking terrible to like reaching godhood. Why was he already fixed by the time we saw him? I was expecting him to look real nasty and then see him transform and that be like the, oh my god, he did it, you know, but like it didn't happen behind the door. And then the fact that it was like Radon and Mohg, but there was nothing about him that was Mohg.
He had
so
some
like
horns on his elbows. But
like, where was the Mohg? He was supposed to be Mohg, and then when he like climbed up on his back, and I was like, it's just Lothric and Lorien again. Like, I don't know what they could have done differently, but because the boss was such a letdown, I put that thing in C. I did not like it. Change my mind.
I don't want to.
Please change it.
I was thinking I'm not. It would be out of pocket to put it in D.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think C is exactly where it belongs. It wasn't a particularly fun fight.
No.
And I didn't feel like redoing it when it was over.
No. And it like kind of didn't. And then the fact that now I'm just critiquing the game itself, but the fact that like the base game never acknowledges that you bought the DLC. Like Gideon's never like, oh, you found Miquella. Like he never says anything. And so like you beat Miquella, and then everyone just kind of like dies off screen, and then like the world just suddenly feels super empty. You don't get like a special ending where like the Miquella ending where you take his tiara and then like usher in your own world of peace. Like that there was nothing. There was like, why?
Yeah, that was a weird choice to make it not connect with anything.
And then like, yeah, like the big payoff was just Mikola being like, I'm telling you a fact that you already knew. And then like that was over. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad we got that off our chest.
I was so excited to see Mikola. How'd they drop the ball? See. I'm so sorry.
It wasn't what we wanted.
I don't think it was what anyone wanted. I don't think I've seen anyone be like, oh my god, I loved the Mikola Radon stuff.
I don't know. I can only speak for myself. It wasn't what I wanted.
No. The first time in From Software history, I was disappointed in the fight.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that.
Yeah, but...
All right, Bale. You okay?
I can't. I didn't want to yell.
You didn't want to yell. This fight fucks.
I love this fight. This is a palate cleanser. I love the Bale fight.
If Gaius is 2 trucks, Bale is a whole convoy.
Yeah, this was really fun. I liked climbing up to the top of Dragon Mountain to fight Bale. I loved the
it was hype.
Yeah, I loved the Captain Ishmael vibes that guy had crawling up the mountain, the Moby Dick kind of thing, the memes that came from it.
It's Ahab, by the way.
Ahab. Oh, right.
Ishmael's the guy writing the novel. Call Me Ishmael.
Embarrassing.
And then he talks about...
I've never read Moby Dick.
You've never read Moby Dick, bro?
I've never read Moby, I'm sorry.
Bro, it's the epic story about man versus nature.
Sorry.
The whale represents God and nature.
But you all know what I meant. I loved this fight. I thought...
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. I'm having so much fun.
Okay, tell me more about Bale.
Big dragon. I like that he had like...
Bone wing.
I thought it was cool. I think lore-wise, it was fun that he was the one to have ripped off Placidusax's head and was... like a blasphemer in the eyes of the Dragon Church.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I liked that fight a whole lot.
It was a great example of, like, you've never heard shit about Bale in the base game. You get into the DLC, people are like, yo, watch out for fucking Bale. And you look over and you see the giant mountain and you're like, oh shit, there's a evil dragon in there. You know what's coming. You're climbing the mountain. The weather's getting worse and worse. There's more and more lightning.
More dragons,
tougher dragons. And then the fight does not disappoint.
No.
Even though he's battle damaged, you can just feel the hatred Bale has for you and all life.
I also like that he's kind of he has a very unique dragon design. Especially, compared to a lot of the field dragons that we've seen, they'll kind of have that spiky nose and like a longer snout. But Bale looks really original. So I really like how small he is, because then it really shows like how tough he was to take on Placidusax the way he did. I thought this fight was really baller. I'd put it an A.
Yeah, A+. A+ for Bale.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all the DLC bosses.
Oh wow, good spread.
So yeah, 8 between S and A, and then we have, I'm not getting into it, but the final boss was a bit of a letdown, but for the most part, a really enjoyable slew of bosses.
And honestly, if we were to ever play the DLC again, which I'm sure we will at some point, the rescaled Radon Mikola fight might not be as taxing. So without that expectation going into it, I'm sure it'll be like not as much of a letdown,
Yes.
So
all right, Godric the Grafted.
I did like this fight.
Liked the fight, liked the character. It does touch on one thing about these From games that always kind of
confuse you,
kind of bounces me a little bit, which is I never know what the time scale of history is.
Yeah.
Because Godric the Grafted could have been living in this castle for hundreds of years. Like, was the Shattering War 1,000 years ago? Is it like the distance between us and the pyramids of Egypt? Or is this all happening like this year?
Or like 5 years ago?
Because he's still grafting.
Yeah.
He has his wits about him. He has a feel like his goal is to go back to the capital, like gather strength and go back to the capital. But he's in that castle hiding because he talked to Millennia, or like she
Right.
like intimidated him. And then she fought Radon, but that was like 100 years ago. Like the time scale just makes me feel so crazy when I play these games because I'm like, am I showing up to just like kill a bunch of people whose names are in the Bible? Or is this like an active history I'm participating in? And Godric, for me, was that first moment of like, what's like, where are we in time?
Right.
But that's not what we're rating. We're just rating him as a boss.
Yes.
As a boss, really fun first, you know, because he drops the rune, the part of the Elden Ring rune that the demigods have. Because it's like the whole thing you're doing in the base game. He's got a yucky design, but it's really memorable. I like that he talks to you. And it's really cool when he sticks a dragon head on the end of his hand.
I was a huge fan of the grafting in the game because, and something that I'll touch on later, is that there was a lot of branch imagery in the game, you know, between the Erd tree being, you know, a branch.
A tree.
And then grafting like fingers and arms onto yourself kind of makes you tree-like almost, with little branches and fractals and all that stuff. So I really liked that aspect, and because of that, I would probably put him in a B. You know, he was like a high B.
I thought he would be A for you.
I think seeing like Bale in A, and like the Shadow Tree avatar, I don't think I'd put him that high. I'd put him with the Putrescent Knight, where you're like, that was fun, but I don't think it was like iconic enough.
Okay, grading on a curve, he ends up in B.
Yeah.
Now, grading on a curve, we have Renala, the woman.
The woman.
The queen.
Yes, of the full moon.
The full moon queen, carrying royalty, whatever her title is. Oh, you're doing physical gestures of royalty and etc. I know you love this fight.
I love this fight.
You love the sweetings.
I love the little sweetings.
I
love the academy.
I'm gonna just say, for me, this fight's an A.
Yes.
And then I'll let you just go nuts. I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna just have some water. Okay. You just go off. Okay?
Renala is my Rilana.
Jesus.
I loved this fight so much. I loved the academy a whole bunch. It was my favorite area in the base game. And so, you know, everything within that zone just kind of gets a bump up because of that. I thought phase 1 was kind of gimmicky, where you have to kind of run around the room and find which sweeting is singing, hit it, and then she'll fall from her glass orb and you kick the crap out of her, and then rinse repeat until you initiate phase 2.
True.
But I loved the sweetings. I thought they were so cute, and I just really liked the vibe. And then phase 2 being like a projection from Ronnie was really fun to see, like Renala at full power, and to fight her in like this moonlit lake where she's summoning, you know, increasingly bigger spirit ash summons. It was really cool. I really liked this fight thematically. I love ethereal moon fights. So I'd put her in S for me personally. You can put her on a low S, but I thought this was one of the fights that really made the base game for me.
So it has to be S.
So it has to be
Putting
S.
your foot down.
Gently, because I love you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if it's a hard fight.
No,
and
not at all.
And sometimes for me, what makes a really good Souls fight is that it was difficult. I had to learn something to overcome it.
Right.
I didn't necessarily feel that, but flavor alone, I can give this one to you.
Okay. Thank you.
And say, yeah, bottom of the S's.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have General Radon, the Star Scourge. Now this guy, what a guy. Now I'm treating this fight and the lore as if the DLC didn't exist.
Okay.
I don't know that this guy is down to marry his little bro. This is just the general that you find in the desert wandering around eating carcasses like a dog.
Now, this is the guy that made me question the timeline, because in that cutscene, he's munching on like fresh corpses that are still actively bleeding.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, how old's that corpse?
Yeah.
That was my
That was
immersion breaking moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care,
Yeah.
but like if we're gonna like say, I was like, so did the battle happen like this morning?
It is one of those things where you just question, is he like 30? Is he 1,030?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? But needless to say, this was a very, very important fight in the base game.
And we beat it before the patch.
Yeah, so what my wife, Sara Kipin,
Hello.
is alluding to here is that the fight on launch was significantly more difficult than what it became. It was patched down a little bit. And yeah, I think we both beat it with the launch of it. I mean, not like we're bragging about it, but it was a tough fight. My experience with this fight was zone in, go, oh, he's in the distance, and then die because he shot a bunch of tracking arrows at me, and then respawn, run in, die in one hit to the arrows. It probably took me a half dozen times to even just get to the boss.
Damn.
And then that wasn't exactly easy either, because once you get to him, he's big, he's swinging his swords, he's casting gravity magic, and then, yeah, if you get him down to half, he then disappears and comes flaming in from the sky like a goddamn meteor. Mm-hmm. So, tough fight. I liked it, though.
Yeah, the arena was fun. I liked how big it was.
Yeah, I liked being able to summon a whole bunch of phantoms.
Including Patches.
Patches.
Who runs away as soon as you summon him.
Yeah, Patches. Oh, maybe honorable boss mention to Patches here.
Where are you going to put that
D.
guy? D. Oh, okay, yeah.
So, Radon, though, I think this guy... I like that he has a big story impact, that when you beat him, it changes the world state. You see the meteors start streaking across the sky again. Wow, I can't speak. You see that thing happen.
Right.
The thing that happens when you beat him, and then it blows a huge crater in Limgrave, and you hop down that crater and you're in a new area. That's cool.
Yeah, that was really fun to discover.
Now, this might be a little weird for me to say after hyping the fight up and saying how difficult it was and how much I like it, but for me, this is kind of like a B+ fight.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not a Radon stan. I was never like, he's my baby girl. I thought him riding a horse was funny, but like not that charming to me.
Okay, well, I love Leonard.
Oh, sorry, going too hard on Radon. But yes, the fight was like, it was fun. It was definitely not my cup of tea.
It's one that I wouldn't want to keep fighting.
No.
It was an interesting novelty. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, but it's not an example of a fight where it's like, oh, I want every boss fight to be structured like
yeah,
this.
for sure. Yeah.
So I'm happy with High B. I think I could see this one being something that people either put at A or S.
Yeah.
But for us, in this household, in our union, we're giving him B.
Yeah.
But higher than Godric the Grafted and the Putrescent Knight.
Which were both fun fights on their own.
All right, next we have the Ancestral Spirit. I know you...
I'm already, like, sitting up taller.
Yeah, you get a little twinkle in your eye when you think of this thing.
I know that this probably didn't really make an impact for most people, but the first time that I stumbled across this boss after, lighting all those torches and climbing up the stairs and seeing its corpse kind of on the precipice on that ledge and thinking that the corpse is going to come to life, and then instead you get teleported to this massive underground cavern and the floor is like covered in moss and bones and mushrooms, and in the distance you see the silhouette of this big, sad, bony deer, and it like turns to face you and starts somberly walking over. And the music was just so unlike anything that I've ever heard at a From Software game. It was very melancholic and Nordic. And it was just something that even to this day I listen to for fun, just because I love that track so much. So yeah, I didn't want the fight to be over. I think I actually let it kill me a few times because it was too easy, but I was like, I don't want it to be over yet. I just really liked existing in that space with the big bone deer. And so for that, really weird of me, put that shit in S. I think I had so much fun fighting the ancestral spirit. I really liked it.
So I didn't have the same like quasi-religious experience.
It was a religious. I think I texted you and I was like, I'm having a religious experience with this moose right now.
But I will say that this definitely ticks the box that I have of I love a quest. I like that I had to light all the torches. You know, it's like a Legend of Zelda style puzzle.
For sure.
Light 8 torches, you get access to a boss fight. The atmosphere is incredible, like you said. And one little, since you've talked about like the big picture, one of the little details I really love about this guy is when he's jumping around, he drips out this like blue spirit juice, and it kind of sounds like laughter when it hits the ground.
Yeah, like children's laughter.
And I just thought that that was a really interesting touch. I couldn't figure out what it was the first time I fought it, and then it clicked. I think S is super out of pocket, but I like that. I like that you're putting your Sara Kipin stamp on this, and I think you'd do a killer illustration of the ancestral spirit if you ever felt like drawing a bunch of antlers.
Yeah, dear. Speaking of antlers, this was another thing that I brought up earlier with the grafted imagery. I thought it was really cool that the horn talisman that drops somewhere down there describes like the horns that are constantly growing and branching out, and I was like, it's like the Erd tree, it's like the grafting. Don't hit the desk. That's like a really that's some good through line imagery. I love it so much. So yeah, that also added to the lore for me.
You're a scholar of the Crucible.
Am I a Crucible guy?
You love the wings and the horns and the growth and the branching.
Okay.
See, I'm more of like a madness rot guy. But you'd be like a Crucible purist.
Yeah. I don't know why. I did use a lot of holy magic though. I used a lot of incantations and like Black Flame on my playthroughs. So Crucible kind of.
That's not related.
I know, but it's like.
Hey, you can do both.
It's like unexpected, but like, yeah, you're right. I might be a Crucible guy.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right. Next we have Astel. Now, can you guess what my main problem with Astel is?
There are two of them.
Okay, well that was a very informed guess because I have talked about this with you in private.
Yes.
We've had our like one-on-one discussions where I'm staring you right in the eyes and saying there shouldn't have been two Astels because it takes away from the majesty of the first one.
And that's how I felt about there being a second ancestral spirit. Yeah,
that's true. Hey, Elden Ring, lay off having two of things.
Yeah, if it has a remembrance, don't make them have a twin.
Okay, so that I will get off my own high horse about that and just say that is a nitpick.
Yeah,
obviously,
it's a nitpick.
It's not like the boss fight is worse because it happens again.
No.
The cool factor is a little diminished. But you know what? The Falling Star Beasts, I immediately fell in love with them once I realized that they were antlion insects or inspired by that particular species of insect and its life cycle, where they fall as a meteor, almost like an egg, and then they turn into that like Taurus-like
like the bull,
which you fight, and then a skull starts to crown through it, and then they seem to latch to the ceiling and underground caves when they like go underground,
so sick, and
then attach to the ceiling and start becoming the Astel, growing wings, and then when they're finally fully realized, they become these like city destroying godlike dragonfly skull I mean, that shit
so cool.
is cool.
It's cool.
I think, again, this is like a very Bloodborne style fight to me.
Oh, for sure.
It's very amygdala like. It with the multiple arms, and each hand kind of creates like a gravitational field. That's something that amygdala did in Bloodborne. I like the kind of floatiness of its tail when it whips you with it.
Yeah.
I like that it uses magic because magic is of glintstone, of the stars. I really love the cosmology of this world. And, I bemoan things like the fact that there's the Onyx and Alabaster Lords and the Crystalians and all these things in this game that appear to be hints of things coming from the stars and being able to communicate and teach. I mean, hell, the fingers are like that.
Yeah.
But by the time we meet the fingers, they're raving mad and can only be communicated through an extremely deranged crone.
Right.
But I don't have that problem with the Astal. I like that they're just a violent, dangerous alien species. To me, that just feels right and cool. That no one's allied with them or learned from them. They've just had their shit rocked by them.
Right.
And the fights are pretty difficult, and they occur pretty late in the game, and they're pretty unique. There's nothing that's really like them. So for me, the Astal is an A fight because it's iconic and memorable.
I'd agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Then
Shake hands on it, yeah.
All right, shake.
Shake. I don't
Can
know
you
if you
can you guys
that.
hear the airwaves getting blasted up and down by our handshake? Marital handshake.
Yes.
I wonder if people are going to be like put off by how much I talk about.
It's fun.
It's our competitive edge.
It's fun, yeah.
We're married.
Yeah, we're married and we love playing video games together. It's fun.
Okay, this is, I believe, the Lich Dragon Fortisax.
Yes.
This is Godwyn the Golden's buddy.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in a nightmare. He lives in the nightmare of a dead god.
Which is pretty cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, he's awesome. The field dragons in this game suck and blow. I think they're like C-tier fights at best.
Right.
I don't like fighting them. The ancient dragons are cooler to me. They're not like my favorite to fight. Honestly, they would be like C pluses because I just don't like fighting a big thing where I have to like hold the sprint button and run away for large portions of it. But the flavor of a lich dragon that has like lightning and death power,
and it's red lightning too,
and red lightning, and lives in a nightmare like
of a dead mermaid man.
Yeah, so I'm a big lich fan. My whole life I've been a lich fan. My favorite color in Magic the Gathering is black. I like the undead. I'm a non-aesthetic goth.
Yeah, you're like a goth guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without the eyeliner.
Right.
Yet. But this guy, to me, I would love like a poster of Lich Dragon Fortisax. Like,
yeah, I think as a kid I was like full dragon pilled, and I also would have wanted a poster of that guy.
Yeah, airbrush him onto the side of my van, and flavor alone, I'm giving this guy an A.
Yep, go right ahead.
Now, I will say, again, after giving him an A, it is kind of a forgettable fight. Like, I forget about Lich Dragon Fortisax.
Yeah.
When I replay the game or think about the game. So that doesn't quite match what we set out to say for A rank, but sometimes you're so cool that you don't even have to be that memorable. Like,
sometimes you could just be a cool goth
you
dragon.
You can leave a non-lasting impression.
Right.
Rykard.
I like this guy. I think he's funny looking.
He is very funny looking.
I think he has fun ambitions. I like that he swallowed a sword.
He's blasphemous.
He's blasphemous. And I like that he has a weird wife who like sends people down into his big volcano arena.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing in the lore where he is described as blasphemous.
Right.
And that his particular war that he fought was the bloodiest in all of history, when I don't know if you could really like prove that factually, because it seems like a lot of the wars in this game are pretty nasty.
Yeah, the run up to Volcano Manor being littered with corpses seems kind of identical to the run up to any other castle that you see.
Yeah. And he's doing gruesome experiments. He invented the abductor virgins,
which are pretty cool.
There's some pretty hairy lore around how the serpent people were born that we don't necessarily want to get into.
Right.
This guy is definitely ambition over everything, which is a compelling character trait. And to your point about him having a wife, which is something I can relate to, I think it makes him really interesting that this hard, evil, ambitious character is soft enough to have a good relationship with his siblings and be in love with someone.
Yeah, that's kind of I never thought about it.
And she
that
loves
way.
him
yeah,
back.
That's so
and
cute. She gets really sad when he dies, right?
When he dies, she starts eating him to try and like
a cat.
rebirth him. And it was kind of like Orochimaru and Kabuto from the 2000s anime Naruto.
Right, but it is also kind of like a cat.
Kind of like a cat. Although cats don't eat you to rebirth you through magical immortal serpent means.
My cat would.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see what she becomes. But okay, the fight itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun arena.
Yeah. Smoky
volcano cave. I don't love the fact that you get kind of a gimmicky weapon. This might be nitpicky. Although, you know what? This is just a matter of taste.
Yeah.
The fact of these role-playing games is that you have to specialize into certain weapons. I can't use spells if I don't have intelligence. I can't use a big fucking hammer if I don't have strength. But in order to make it so that anyone can use the spear, this big two-handed spear has no stat requirements. So that kind of takes me out of the like gameplay fiction of the world. Now, that is like the most like I don't know, sophomoric, like, it's actually quite interesting if you think about, like, I get that that's not a take that should actually detract from it. But It is something that I noticed.
Okay.
And for me, until I learned that you can actually just fight him normally, and it's actually kind of fun to just get in there and hit him.
Right.
The lava doesn't do that much damage. The fight is basically charge up the wind attack on the big spear that you get right outside the boss fight and hit him with it and stagger him and then just do it again and again and again until it's over, which, you know, is that super fun gameplay? I'd argue no. You're kind of teed up to do it like that. So that for me would pull the fight down from where it would maybe be an A to being like a high B.
Yeah. I put him there. I don't think I was like a huge fan of like Rykard and his whole thing. I thought the Volcano Manor was really fun. I liked the like design of everything surrounding that location, but his boss fight removed from that, you know, cube. And
I don't know if we've talked about textureless cube theory in this video.
Have we not?
I don't believe so. Which I'll explain very briefly. If you stripped all the flavor away from a boss, if it was just like a giant textureless cube that had the same hitbox attack patterns, so you didn't know where you were or anything, you know, just in a void fighting a cube, would the fight still be fun without knowing that it's a giant serpent? And what you're saying is not really.
No. I think his big red skulls that he sends at you are pretty fun, but ultimately he's not like my favorite aesthetic, and B.
Big bosses are never my favorite in these games. I'm gonna put him at B. All right, I think you and I are gonna be a little divided on Morgott here. Peepaw, Morgott, Morgo, Margit, whatever this Chump is called.
He was like a Scooby-Doo villain for me. He showed up like 3 times, and I was like, leave me alone. Like,
Did you try not being so ambitious?
I could have just put my controller down.
You could have quit the game.
I could have just quit the game.
Actually, I probably not a lot of people know this because everyone just played through the game. But if you get to Margot the first time and he tells you to turn back and you turn off your console and you do not boot up Elden Ring for a full year, you actually get a letter in the mail from FromSoft that's like from Margot's, like it's written like it's him, and he thanks you for making the sensible choice.
Okay, that's fun. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I know you didn't know that because, again, like everyone else, you just kind of
right. Yeah.
But that aside,
yeah, right.
the actual so there's like 2 fights happening here. Although the remembrance you get for the fight in front of the Erd Tree, so let's just talk about that one.
Okay.
I like the fight. I think the combat of it isn't amazing. Like, I don't have any memories of like, oh, that one attack was cool. I like that he throws light daggers at you and he's kind of faster than you would expect for being.
He whips you with his tail.
I do like his tail.
Yeah.
I think the phase change is extremely cool where he gets so pissed that he crumbles his staff and it's full of like oily blood.
Right.
And the whole area floods with like rotten blood juice and he gets so pissed at you. He's like, look what you're making me do. Like, I like the desperation and the anger. I think it communicates that character's story and feelings very well.
Yeah.
So to me, that puts it at, again, like a high B.
Okay.
I think a lot of these fights it's really hard to get lower than a B. But I really like when a fight can teach you about a character. Like when you learn something through fighting it.
Yeah.
If you stayed at that phase 1 the whole time, you wouldn't learn anything. It's not just expositional. You're literally seeing the results of him losing control. He's built up so much of this sense of, I'm going to be the reluctant king that prevents everything from truly falling apart. I'm still wearing my sewer rags from my horrible childhood. And then you're just like beating him so bad he can't even hide behind this like weird self-flagellative humble humility thing that he's got going on. I love that you force him to go all out and he becomes like, you know, a little bit Moog-like in that moment where he's finally just like cutting loose and using the blood that he hates so much against you and finally being himself. And then weirdly his like reward, in air quotes, is that he gets stripped of his omenness by his father when you fight what's this guy's name? Godfrey?
Yeah, Godfrey.
So I don't know. I like the character a lot. I wouldn't hang out with him. I wouldn't have a beer with him.
No, he'd probably be a bad hang.
No, he'd probably kill me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For being tarnished.
Right.
But I respect the hell out of him, and I love the actual like emotions of the fight. So to me, that's a B+.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah. For me, he ended up representing a huge problem that I personally had with the game, and this is like totally me, just a me problem. I went through this game before the DLC came out and we like got Mesmer. I was waiting for my like Lothric and Lorien fight, for my like Aldrich fight, for like my cool pretty boy fight, and it never happened.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you keep hearing all of these names and you're like, ooh, I like wonder what that guy's gonna look like. I wonder what this guy's gonna look like. I wonder what this guy's gonna look like. So you fight this guy and I'm like, ew, who's this like old peepaw, like grandpa guy? And then you kill him, and then he like shows up in the field and he like is like chasing you and you're like, get away. And then you hear about like this like the current reigning Elden Lord, quote unquote, and you're like, ooh, I wonder who it is. And then it was him again, and I was like, okay. And then you put him down, and then you hear about like Moog, like the Blood Prince or whatever, and like I'm like, ooh, who's that? And then it's his twin. I like literally felt insane. insane. And then you fight him twice. And then you heard about like the Death Prince. And I was like, ooh, Godwyn the Golden, like the Prince of Death. Like what? And then he was just like a big upside down mermaid corpse. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And then like Mikola turned out to be like Millennia's twin, but he was like eternally baby, but then also a shriveled up mummy. And I was like, like the game was just like kicking me.
They refused to give you a hot boy.
They refused to give me a hot boy.
I don't think we need to cut this. What are you talking about?
Okay, well, thank you for understanding. But yeah, like I'm so happy that the DLC gave me Mesmer, because this whole time I was like, where's my next like Lorien? Where's like the really cool like cute knight guy? And they just kept giving me grandpas.
I mean, if we're looking at the game from like, if we're just collecting like characters that we'd want to like kiss, you know, I've got Ronnie, I've got Millennia, I've got Ramina. Like there's so many like evil women
who are like humanoid right.
and cute and kind of petite and feminine,
right.
even if they're merged with a monster or monstrous. And yeah, for Du Bois, it's just like,
like Rykard,
old men and monsters.
And it's like Rykard is like Ronnie's brother. And if he were a girl, you know, he would be like a sexy woman on the top of a snake body. And then like, yeah, it was just funny. So like, it's not Morgoth's fault, but he did kind of end up representing everything that I was upset about the base
All right,
game.
I'm gonna bump Morgoth a couple points down for being a bait and switch
with a twin that you have to fight multiple times.
Okay. I think that's fair. You know what? I bet there's going to be a lot of people on your side on that one.
Okay, cool.
Because we're not saying it's, you know, it's a bad thing that there's cute girls or monstrous men. You're just lamenting the fact that there weren't any hot boys.
There were no hot boys in this game. Look at who's next.
Yeah. The fire giant.
Not a cute boy.
The fire giant is not cute.
No.
You know what? I think just so we have more in the C category, for me, I don't love the fire giant fight.
Yeah, it was okay.
I wonder if I should stop saying I don't love. Like, maybe there's probably a better way. I didn't really like. I just keep putting all these qualifiers in.
Yeah.
But whatever.
You didn't vibe with it.
I didn't totally like the fire giant fight. I think that fighting big things is hard. I thought the big face on its chest was kind of goofy.
Yeah, it was a little silly.
And it had quite a few one-hit moves, at least when I fought it, which I don't like dying and running back. I did like that it represented, you know, like an ancient being that had survived a very long time. I liked that it rips off its own leg.
Yeah, that's pretty
and
cool.
like burns it to summon a manifestation of its elder god. But you know, all that combined, to me, it's still a C.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, looks like we have Moog, Lord of Blood, up next. And as much as I said I didn't appreciate the fact that he was Morgoth's twin, and I got, you know, like Looney Tunes style tricked into a guy whose name is Lord of Blood just being his twin. But I really, really liked this fight.
Oh.
And especially post DLC, where you find out that he's not a big weirdo. He was manipulated. I think he has rights. I really liked the fight. I loved phase 2. It was a fast-paced fight.
Yeah.
The formless mother was a really fun concept that I feel like I would have loved to have learned more about, but I loved all of his like blood attacks. And yeah, the arena was really fun. I liked his like gothic Greek pantheon
He was
house
squatting in ancient ruins.
Yeah, but it was cool. So I'd put this fight in an S. It ended up being like one of my favorite fights in the game. I don't know if you have a different opinion on it, but
so I agree with you that I really like Moog as a character. Learning everything about him in the base game, I was on his side. And I was kind of like of the opinion that the reason he kidnapped Miquella was something, kind of interesting. And with these like God stories, especially with George R. R. Martin at the helm of the world building, you just have to overlook some of the like family ties that are being
squint my eyes a little bit.
But I really liked the dynasty he was building. I thought Vare was a really cool character. I liked the look of the guys that like, rise up out of the blood with their rapiers and are like dex fighters, and they have like a knightly order and badges, and I love his big black wings that he sprouts.
Yeah, and his voice is really fun.
I was gonna say, as something of a voiceover actor myself, I really appreciated when you discover Moog and he's talking so sweetly to Miquella. And it's this like very sweet voice, and then he turns around and it's fire and brimstone, right? And it just, much the same way that Morgo, his twin, had a really cool like in the fight you see that change of character. Just that one simple introductory scene shows you such a huge range of like, this guy has a sweetness and a tenderness and a love in him, and then a rage and a pomp and circumstance. And if you spend any time learning the lore of how Omen are treated in this game, you kind of sympathize. I mean, you can sympathize with, he was, just because he was born with horns, he was imprisoned,
right,
and told he was an omen of evil things, and he had to like basically accept a god's curse into him in order to finally feel accepted by something.
Right.
So really cool character.
Yeah, I loved Moog.
S tier. Would I have loved him if he was like a hot boy instead of like a giant monster?
I think his design is a little more like, he's not like an exact twin with Morgott. He's more kind of like a World of Warcraft demon looking thing.
He's a little bulky in that
way. I think he gets like, he's less grandpa coded.
I also think he's dressing to appear like boxier and everything.
Well, you dress for the job you want.
Yes.
He's dressing to be like a big sexy goth king, and Morgott's kind of like,
it's also one of those things, and what I'm saying about Moog now would even more apply to Millennia in just a second. But it's one of those fights where it could have 100% been avoided if we had just talked it out for like half a second.
For
like
2 seconds.
If you're on the Bloodline quest chain and Vari gives you the badge, like, have an audience with him. There's no reason why he needs to freak out and attack you.
No.
It could be an Annalise and Bloodborne situation where you're like, Moog, I'm going to give you like the best blood. Like, I can get it for you because I'm your specialist little guy.
Yeah. It would have been fun to have like some sort of like what's his face? The beast guy. The Beast of Farum Azula, that you give him the...
Malekith?
Yeah.
But he's like Garang or whatever.
Yeah, Garang, and he wants the death root. Yeah, you should have been able to give Moog special blood.
Yeah. But speaking of characters who you were ostensibly on the same side as...
Yeah.
And should have just been able to be like...
No, wait!
Hey, I've got a needle that'll stop you from turning into like a sick... monster.
Also, I know where your brother is.
And I know where your brother is, and I want to help him and help you. Millennia, Goddess of Rot.
I love her.
Amazing like, so hard.
Yeah.
Such a hard fight. The fact that she heals every time she damages you.
So cool.
For me, she kicked my ass, and then I tried to bring in summons, and that actually made it worse having other players because they would get hit, and then she'd gain health. So this was just a get good over multiple days type
Right.
fight. And that's kind of like the experience you're looking for in these games, is a fight that's so hard that you're like going to bed and you're mentally processing it
Right.
while you're asleep so you can come back and do better tomorrow.
Yeah, I really liked the community aspect of this fight. I didn't use summons virtually anywhere else in the game. I didn't think it was really necessary. But this fight, I did the same thing where I was like, oh, how the heck am I supposed to fight this alone? And, you would attempt summons and stuff. And eventually I did beat her with help. But after that, I had so much fun that I started putting my sign down, and I helped like 20 other people beat her. And it was so cool seeing all of them like jump up and down and, like do their little emotes as thanks. And it was such a community thing. I really had a lot of fun. And then, of course, during the height of it, you had the let me solo her guy.
Yeah.
So I feel like the social aspect of this fight was a huge part in making it such an enjoyable and memorable experience. Put her up an S. That's an S.
Yeah. And, not for nothing, I love the sort of Valkyrie design that she has. I love her phase 2 where she turns into the goddess of rot.
So cool.
The sort of moldy butterflies. She's colorful, but all the colors are kind of washed out and sickly.
Yeah. She's naked with big boots on, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
That's cool.
That is cool. You're right. I think, where do we want to put her up in the S tier? It's getting crowded up here.
Yeah. Well, speaks to how good Elden Ring is. I'd put her.
Where do you think?
Put her pretty high. I'd put her right beneath Mesmer. Yeah.
So I know Romina's up here at the top of S.
Are you starting to?
Well, now that I'm looking at like all this company, like, is Romina's fight like, I think I'm letting my heart get in the way of my brain.
How about we rank the rest of them, and then at the end we can kind of shuffle things around. Yeah.
I'm bringing it up now because
Oh my! Ooh! Oh, I thought you were just gonna slide her to the right.
Well, I think if they're all S, it discredits something.
Okay.
I've already given Romina my flowers.
Okay.
As she's a beautiful hot pink bug woman. But in our discussion of her, we mentioned the fact that there's not a lot of story.
There's no cutscene.
Millennia, cool cutscene. Mesmer, cool cutscene. Midra, cool cutscene. Moog, cool cutscene. The Ancestral Spirit is like a quest, and there's an atmosphere to it. Rolana is just a really awesome version of a Souls fight. Renala is cutscene, and
right.
So I think I'm gonna bump her down to A.
Okay.
And
did she even have a phase 2?
No.
Damn.
She just kind of like gets a little stronger.
Yeah, I think she summons those little butterflies.
She gets more moves, right? But there's no transformation.
So devastating. She deserved so much more.
Yeah. Romina, I'm sorry. Call me. We can make this work. I am so sorry to bump you down from S, but
I think being ahead of Bale is, that's good.
Yeah, you're still the top of the A's.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Dragon Lord Placidusax.
This was a fun fight. How
fun was it?
Probably an A.
Woo!
Yeah, I think cool dragon fight. I thought the ruins were a really fun boss arena.
The crumbling Farum Azula.
Yes.
With its tempestuous winds that lift and separate.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty cool fight. Definitely the best dragon fight in the game. Maybe Bale was cooler. Bale was cooler. In the base game. Yeah, I think it was better than
the bar is on the floor in the base game
for dragons. Yeah, but it was a cool fight. I liked the kind of theorizing as to why it only had 4 heads and then 2 heads, sorry. And then I'm
pushing up my glasses.
Actually, right, because it looks like the 2 fingers.
While it does have 2 additional head stumps, the only 2 heads on its body are the 2 that you can see.
Thank you for reminding me. But
I love correcting women.
But yeah, cool fight. I don't know. It's okay. I don't know if I love you so much. You were joking. I know. I don't think I have too much else to say about it. You know, I'm not crazy about the fight, but I thought it was good. I'd put it in a low A, you know?
Yeah. Agree with you. I was more intimidated by the idea of the fight than what actually ended up happening.
Yeah, it wasn't very difficult.
I kind of assumed that this like optional original Elden Lord of all time dragon in a floating timeless sky city was going to be like, well, there's just no way I'm going to beat this. Like I might have to come back after it wasn't
No.
too hard.
I love how you approach video games with such a strong sense of self-preservation. It's really cute. You're like, I can't even attempt that.
I will my like sole strategy is I will map out all the routes that end in a boss and then I will like pick which one seems easiest to go through.
Oh, you're so cute.
I'm kind of like the main guy from The Elusive Samurai.
We just started watching that anime last night. Put it in A.
A? Okay.
Yes.
I also, big shout out to the needle quest. You have to beat this boss in order to reverse time to fix the needle. The needle is like part of a whole long quest chain that ends in nothing important. But it is cool that you have to go there to do it. All right.
Malekith.
Now, I mentioned earlier with Morgoth that you and I are probably going to have pretty different opinions.
Yeah.
This one, I think we're like 2 tiers off from each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to... Why don't you say how you feel about
Okay.
it? I'll talk about what I like about it, and then we'll compromise and put it right in the middle.
Okay, so right off the bat, I realized that my experience with this fight, it's not normal. I know that my experience is not universal. I hated this fight. I didn't like phase 1. I just never really liked any of the rock moves. I felt like they were really aggressive, constant. It was really hard to find my footing in my particular build that I had. And then phase 2, when he started using the black flame that would drain your HP pool, it was just a very brutal fight. I recognized how cool it is, like thematically. I love his character design. I thought it was really fun that he's like a furry wolf in a sick suit of black armor, but ultimately it's just like the one that I'm like, all right, here we go, and then just like suffer for like 20 minutes and then move on. So I'm being mean when I say that I want to put this thing in a C, but I realize that my experience is, tainting it in a way that's unfair. So if you want to put it in an A, I'd be like, yeah, I just didn't vibe with it.
Okay. So I hear you, and I can see that because the fight is very aggressive. For me, I think the coolest thing about this guy is the visual spectacle of the fight. The armor that you mentioned. I mean, it's just one of the coolest looking bosses in this game, just in terms of like design. I'm not a particularly like anthropomorphic animal characters guy. Like a human wolf, that doesn't really like do it for me necessarily.
Right.
But I have to give mad props to Malekith because he is just so cool. Like, it's just undeniable.
Yeah, he's a really cool boss fight design.
The red death effect on the sword.
Yeah.
I like the self-sacrifice element of the character, that he's been betrayed by Marika.
Yeah.
There's so much emotion and like desperation and self-doubt. Like, I really like when the boss fight tells a story, or when you can get a really strong sense of a character through the boss fight. And I think you get that in spades, and you see why he is such a feared being when he hits phase 2 and he starts doing like Metroid Prime style double jumps in midair.
It was really cool.
Flipping and shooting shit at you. To
Yeah.
me, I think this is an iconic and memorable Elden Ring boss, which is why I would put it in A.
Yeah, go ahead. I know I'm wrong.
I mean, there's no such thing as a wrong opinion.
No, but I do recognize that, like, if my build had been different, you know, I think like the third time I played this game, I stopped playing right around that, like when I should have fought him. So I picked the game back up being totally rusty and tried to fight him again. And I was like, why did I do this? You know, it was like 9 months since I had played. So I think he's just another kind of thing where it's like not his fault, but that happened. And then it just kind of like, now I have this opinion of the boss fight. Yeah. And it's not valid.
I think I'm happy putting him kind of at a low A.
Yeah.
All right. We've got 2 more left. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Let's finish this off.
You're looking great, too.
Oh, thank you.
You're so beautiful. Did you just dyed your hair?
Yeah, I did.
Is that a secret that you dye your hair?
No, it's okay. Yeah.
But damn.
Boy on mic.
Okay. Godfrey is up next. This guy, really cool.
Yeah, he was fun. It was cool meeting America's ex-husband.
Yeah, one of them. Now, lore-wise, this guy, you've heard him built up all game. He's kind of like, you know, you've thrown around the term peepaw before like a shorthand for like a grandpa, like a kind of a friendly grandpa character. This guy really does feel like your dad, or he's just your dad, and he's here to like stop you from being a rascal and getting into that throne room. It is so fucking cool when you start the boss fight. The entire game you've been following Grace, like the guidance of Grace has been leading you to the Elden Throne, and when you start the fight, the Grace is going from him to you. Like the Golden Order that you have been following the entire time has now turned on you and is like, you are his boss fight.
Yeah.
Like you're his obstacle. This ain't your game anymore. It's Godfrey's.
Yeah.
Sarash, the lion he's wearing like a cloak, is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
The fight is very fair.
Yeah.
And when he turns into phase 2 and he does that move where he knocks you into the air and slams you into the ground, I mean, it is just so cool. He throws off the pretense of being Godfrey and he just becomes Horlo, the warrior. Like, he strips himself of all the grandeur,
the finery,
all this stupid shit that America was cultivating as a way of maintaining power over everyone, her dynasty, her royalty, this projection of golden purity that she was putting out there. He played along with it and it got him exiled.
Yeah.
And he's just through with it. And he fights you and it's bloody and it's difficult.
Hand to hand.
And it is an A tier fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only reason it wouldn't be S tier is because I don't want to kiss him or be him. But
yeah,
I think it's a high A.
Yeah.
It almost might be like one of the highest A's for me.
Oh, okay.
Just because I find the fight so satisfying.
It was very satisfying. It was fun to learn the moveset. It was punishing, but it felt like a dance, you know? Like, I feel like I clicked with it pretty quickly. And, yeah, it was really satisfying to beat. You know, I'm looking at the S tier, you know? Who else was a peepaw before he got his really cool sun hat?
Midra?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a peepaw. He's too wretched.
No, he was.
A peepaw is like a Santa Claus type.
A peepaw to me was just kind of like old man across the board, just like of peepaw age.
I see.
There can be evil peepaws.
I think we just have very different definitions. We also have to stop saying peepaw. It's losing all meaning. Do you have anything you want to say about Godfrey / Horlo?
No. I think you said everything.
That's true. I love to talk.
And I love to listen.
Hey, what a great pairing. Like cheese and wine, or cheese and grapes.
Crackers.
Grapes and cheese and crackers and honey.
Ooh.
And like maybe like a blackberry spread.
Maybe we should have cheese plate later this week.
We should buy some like cornichons.
Yeah. I have some burrata downstairs. Anyway.
You know what we don't...
No?
Have enough with our cheese plates?
What?
Like little pearled onions, like those little pickled onions. I know those are like for cocktails, but I'm kind of like, maybe I want one of those.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
We'll look around.
Let's celebrate posting this video by doing like a cheese board.
By buying little pickled onions.
You should post a picture of the board online and be like, new video. Here's our celebratory cheese board.
Our Elden Ring themed cheese plate.
Well, I don't know what on a cheese plate would be representing the Elden Beast.
What would that be?
Maybe like honey on a black sesame cracker.
Ooh.
White, black, and gold. I don't know.
Are you going to put cheese on that cracker? Or is it just honey and a cracker?
I don't know. Maybe I'm hungry. Does it sound like I'm a little hungry?
I don't know. Does Milu kind of look like a chicken to you right now if you look over at her?
Oh, she does. She does kind of look like a perfectly cooked turkey.
All right, let's get this over with.
Okay. Elden Beast.
Bee.
The Elden...
The Beast.
A bee for the Elden Beast.
I just feel like...
Speak your mind.
So I guess, first of all, we have to talk about phase 1, which is Radigan. Because he's not here, but he is a part of this fight.
Well, he's the sword.
Yeah. So I really liked phase 1. I thought, finally getting to the center of the Erd Tree and seeing Marika crucified, and then, her hair turning crimson and it being revealed, if you hadn't already figured it out, that she is also Radigan, was really cool. I thought the fight with him was really interesting. Nothing too crazy. I didn't think the fight was punishing. It was kind of easy to learn, but I liked his golden order, like sigils that would kind of appear on the ground. Mm-hmm. And then you get to phase 2 and suddenly this friendly looking gummy dragon space slug comes out of nowhere.
That's a great description of it.
And I think I was kind of like, oh, and then quickly underwhelmed by how unfrightening it was. Like, I kind of expected the fight to have, or just the character design to be a little more punchy.
May I suggest it's no moon presence?
It's no moon presence.
It's almost friendly looking.
Yeah,
it's got the long neck.
It's kind of got like a Puff the Magic Dragon thing going on.
It's a little paunchy.
Yeah, it's like kind of cute, but like not in a like an ethereal way. Mm-hmm. Even though I might have said that earlier, it's just kind of like that's a funny little space dragon.
Yeah, it looks like a space dragon. I probably am a little higher on it than you on the visuals because I like the golden nervous system.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's cool.
One thing that I never got closure on in this whole series, and I've watched plenty of lore videos, shout out to Vadi and Schmotown
Gold Mask
and Garrulus Gold Mask and all the others whose videos I've watched. I cannot for the life of me figure out what is skewering Marika when she's crucified, because it wasn't Radigan that crucified her. It was something crucified her in light, but then she has a red, like tarnished gold, like crucible gold spear going through her midsection.
I remember some people before the DLC came out were like, oh, what if it was Mesmer? And then it like wasn't.
And it wasn't. And then the Elden Beast has a wound on its body that corresponds to where that lance was going through Marika. And it's almost like crucifixion and alone wasn't enough to keep Marika down. She also had to be stabbed through with this thing. Who stabbed her? What is that? I'd love to know. If you've got any theories, please write them in the comments. If someone made a video about this, link it to me, because it still drives me crazy. I want to know what that is. But that's a tangent.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, you think the Elden Beast is a solid fight.
Yeah.
And what I'll agree with there is it's a lot of chasing it. Mm-hmm. Or it does a big attack and you're holding the sprint button and just running as like the attack lands an inch behind you.
Right.
Neither of which are that fun.
No.
It's cool, but it's not that cool. And within its own battle, it would have been cool for there to be like maybe one other phase change or transformation.
Yeah, for sure.
I've talked a lot about how I love when a fight teaches me something about a character. You really get nothing about the Elden Beast from the fight other than it exists, which was a surprise.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, it was a space dragon. But you don't learn anything about it. It doesn't give you anything other than the fact that it's intelligent enough to make a sword out of Radigan's body.
Yeah, I feel like it's not productive for me to do the like, oh, it should have done this, but I think this fight would have been the perfect place to have Elden Ring's like Sister Frida fight with like 3 phases. Like make
Sister
me
Frida.
I know, we have to do Dark Souls 3 next.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the fight, especially if you kind of put it up against everything else that we have going on in SNA.
And we will.
I don't think it was that fun or iconic. And, Elden Ring, as we know it, is kind of over now. There's no more DLC in the works. That's the final fight after everything chronologically. You don't get a special thing tied with getting Miquella's tiara. Like, this is it. And I think, especially learning about like the finger mother. I want to call her Midra, but that's not her name. Metir. That design is so much more like, I think that should have been the Elden Beast design almost.
Yeah.
Something a little more eldritch horror than gummy space dragon gum.
Yeah, and the Elden Ring and the Elden Beast are supposed to represent like absolute order. It's like literally bringing laws of reality to the world.
Like, what if it was something like cool and geometric and like almost like,
It's a very organic,
yeah,
nature-inspired design for something that feels like it should be like truly alien and hard to understand. Other things from space, yeah, you have Metir, who's like a massive fingers and yucky. You have the Estelle, which are like insect-like and
bug
cobbled together with like constellation tails. And then
there's
you have a cute little dragon slug thing that doesn't seem to have any kind of discernible personality or goals.
No.
So
I think ultimately, I think if it were anywhere else in the game, I probably wouldn't be so harsh on it. But because I'm like, that's the final boss out of everything, there's so many more cooler fights that aren't the final boss. So I'd put it
So where in B would you put it?
I'd probably put it beneath Radon and above Rykard.
Okay. So let's just take one last pass over this. Congratulations, Elden Ring.
Yeah.
None of your remembrance fights were D tier.
Yeah.
I'm going to delete that.
Get that out of here.
Oh, and big shout out to Caster1 on X, the Everything app, for putting this tier maker together. Is there anything in this list you'd want to change? We have Mesmer as our top fight of the game and Fire Giant as our bottom.
Okay.
We have Promise Concert Radon very low for all the reasons we mentioned earlier.
I think I'd put the two of them above
Gaius,
simply because of like it's 2 tiers. There are, there's phases.
I liked Gaius though. I thought Gaius was more challenging and interesting than the Fire Giant. I would rather fight Gaius again.
Oh, no. I just meant beneath Miquella and Radon. Not all the way at the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's my lineup of the 3.
Okay.
Do you think that's fair?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Then we have Putrescent Knight.
Yes.
Godric.
Okay.
Morgott. Rykard. Elden Beast. Radon.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
So they're fine? Okay. Then Placidusax, Malekith, Fortisax, Metir, Dancing Lion, Shadow Tree Avatar, Astel, Godfrey, Bale, Romina.
Maybe the Dancing Lion should be a little higher. How do you feel about that? It's a really cool fight.
But is it cooler than the Shadow? Like, that's the thing is, all of these are so cool.
Yeah, I do think visually it does more for me than Estelle does. But I can also move the Shadow Tree Avatar
maybe
down.
Do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can survive that change.
Okay.
And then at our S tier, we've got the Moon Sisters, the Ancestral Spirit, God of Blood, God of Frenzied Flame, God of Scarlet Rot, and Cursed Snake Guy.
Right. I'd put the ancestral spirit at the bottom of S just because, that's just a me personal thing. I also liked Renala better than Renala.
Renala better than R'Lana.
Yes. But I'm not like too.
I liked the actual fight against R'Lana more than I liked the actual fight against Renala.
Yeah, that's fair.
And lore-wise, Renala's cool because, she usurped the Raya Lucarian Academy and everything. But my girl Selen, she kicked Selen out of the...
So for personal reasons.
Oh yeah, speaking of like evil women who I love, like this game is just a feast for me. Like, oh yeah, there's an evil sorceress who's kind of like a lich because she transfers her soul out of her body and she's too ambitious by half and is doomed by the narrative. Yeah. Man, I could just go off on so many tangents. But no more tangents because we have in stone etched every last remembrance boss into an order. We did it, Sarah. I didn't know that we were going to do this. We tried. I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit. We tried to do this with all the bosses, and we tried it multiple times, and we just couldn't hack it.
It was so...
Too many bosses. How do you talk about the Beast of Farah Missoula enemy as a boss?
With the Crystallians and the demi-human queen, and it was just...
But just being these remembrance bosses, we did it.
We did it. It was so much more fun because everything was mostly, all positive, essentially.
Yeah, it's more fun talking about how much you love a game. And, like, we were critical on some elements, but even the most damning things that we said, we never put anything below a C, which is, just a fine boss fight. There was nothing that I was like, this game wasted my time.
No.
I loved this game. The boss fights are incredible.
It's always the highlight of a FromSoft game.
Yeah. And I think they really delivered a wide diversity of boss types, boss themes, great character coming through in these bosses. You know what? I think the designers of Elden Ring should finally be proud of themselves because we're saying it here and now that they did a good job.
We love their stuff. But yeah, we did it.
We did it. Any final words for our dear listeners who have made it this far on the journey?
It was so cute of you to make it this far. Thank you for finishing the video with us.
Yeah. Maybe you hear it all the time, maybe you don't hear it, but it is actually like very cute of you to finish this video. It makes you cute. I hope you feel cute. You walk around the next, like tomorrow, just being like, damn, that was pretty cute of me to watch that video. I'm a real cutie pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. We'll probably tackle Dark Souls next. Dark Souls 3.
Yep, then Sekiro.
Or Sekiro. Might do one or the other. If you have a preference, leave a comment. We love reading the comments. We look at them and we go, look.
We do that, yeah.
And this is just a lot of fun for us, and we're doing this because it's fun. So, if no one watches this, we still did it for ourselves, and that's great.
Yeah.
And if you got something out of this, if you strongly disagree or you're glad someone finally said it, let us know, or don't. Just have fun. Just do your thing.
Right.
We love you.
We're
in love with you. And we hope you have a great rest of your lives.
Yes.
All right. Signing off.
Goodbye.
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 This is Colin
and Sarah.
And Sarah out.
Bye.
Bye.